here we go. Taking a first look at Jacko from the Guilty Gear collab that's incoming. And, from my initial look at her, she actually looks pretty good. I think she's probably going to be the better of the limited units just because of the damage. And we're going to take a look at that here in a little bit. But let's take a look at her stats here real quick. She is a Fire Warrior. That seems to be the trend right now. Fire Warrior, Taurus. We were able to find another unit in Epic 7 that has comparable stats to her, and that's Sigrid. So that's what we're going to use to try to theory craft her build. But she has 109 base speed, so okay base speed for a warrior. She has pretty decent attack. She has some nice health, so this can potentially lead to her being built out as Bruiser, but I don't know how well that's going to work just because of her skill kit. She has 165 crit damage built in because of her awakening, so she gets, I think, like a 5 and a 10 crit damage boost from her awakenings. The imprint concentration is attack, so if you are wailing, you're going to be able to get her attack pretty high. She will need some effectiveness if you want to have a better chance at stunning, because that's kind of how her kit revolves around, her getting some stuns. But let's take a look at her skill. So when looking at her skills, her skill 2 here, Trick or Treat at the start of battle, grants Chain of Chiron to the ally in the back row for 2 turns. After an ally attacks, when the target is stunned, increases CR of all allies by 15%. Now, keep in mind, this has to be when the target is stunned. This effect is activated after all the other effects have occurred and can only be activated once every 3 turns. So, Chain of Chiron is an undispellable buff, similar to Vigor. Chain of Chiron, after attacking, has a 25% chance to stun the target for 1 turn. Again, can't be dispelled. This skill 2 passive, you're going to want to max it out because of the combat readiness. But keep in mind, this can only be activated every 3 turns. So you're only going to be getting that CR push every 3 turns. So kind of keep that in mind. But I think that this can kind of be broken, especially if you pair with like AoE units, right? So you'll see there, Chain of Chiron, right, is activated on the Politis. Whether or not she has her Abyssal Crown on her artifact, it's going to make it very, very tough for anyone to be put here in this position and not run Abyssal, right? Because you're guaranteeing yourself even more stuns with the buff. Chain of Chiron, Abyssal, it's going to be a bad time, right? But AoEs are probably going to be the way that you take advantage of this the best, like putting Bellion in the back row. So every time that she goes, she just stuns your entire team. That's going to be kind of insane, right? Or even like Rem, putting Rem in the back row. She counters, strips, hits you with unhealable, deals big damage, and then stuns your entire team. So I can definitely see that happening. Okay, taking a look at the skill 3 Forever Elysion Driver. It's a 4-turn cooldown with the -1 turn. So I guess you can get this down to -3 turns. Increases the attack of the caster for 2 turns. So she gives herself an attack buff before attacking the enemy by swallowing them with a jack-o'-lantern. When the enemy is defeated, she gets another turn. And she also penetrates the target's defense by 50%. And on top of that, when the target has a debuff, her damage is increased. So she gives herself attack buff, penetrates defense, and she has a built-in rage set, I guess you could say, on the S3. It is a single target damage dealing skill, but let's see how much she does. 15k on that Landy. Of course, there is no damage mitigation. Did she hit her with Vigor on? Yeah, she hit her with Vigor on. So 50% Death Pen coming in clutch here. So because her S3 is going to be a single target attack, you're going to want to build her with Death Pen, right? 50% def pen from her built-in skill, and then more def pen from the def pen set. So right away I can see her as a speed def pen built unit, but again, you're gonna want some effectiveness maybe, so you can land some stuns because of her S1. But she deals pretty decent damage, self-attack buff, defense, and of course, if they're debuff, she's gonna get increased damage dealt. But keep in mind that she probably won't be a unit that's gonna be going first, right? You want her to go after the entire team's been debuffed, after your openers have stripped and debuff. So it allows you to build her a little bit slower to take advantage of the skill 3 into the skill 1. So once you get a kill with the skill 3, you're gonna get an extra turn. And the skill 1 attacks the enemy with a servant with a 30% chance to stun for 1 turn. So you get more chances to stun after attacking on the caster's turn when the target has a debuff, activates dust attack. So you're gonna wanna play her in a control comp, or if you have enough effectiveness and you can get those stuns off, then she can kind of work off of her own debuffs, right? That's what I'm thinking. The extra attack is dust attack. Attacks the enemy by throwing them into the air, granting stealth to the caster for 1 turn. You can soul burn this for a 100% chance to stun. That's the new trend, right? Like soul burn for 100% effect chance to stun, or ignoring effect res. Those two I think are pretty OP anytime you have them on an S1. And it's 10 souls for increased effect chance to 100%. You're gonna wanna max this out as well. So max molas on the S3 and S1, those are probably gonna be the priority. The skill 2, it's a CR push, so it really depends on where you wanna bring her. But let's take a look and see if they show us what kind of damage she deals from that little demo that they do. And let's see here. Okay, S1, 4.9k, and then the extra attack here does another 5k, so almost 10k with the S1 again proc, right? Or the S1 extra attack. That's pretty decent damage, right? So kind of keep that in mind. She can one-shot a unit potentially with her S3, chain into her S1, and then S1 extra attack. So she could potentially take out 2 units in one go, right? And I don't know how they have her built here, but if she is on def pen set, each of her attacks is a single target attack. So you will be taking advantage of that def pen set. And then after that, she gets stealth, so she can be targeted. I mean, I don't know how she's gonna get targeted if everyone on the opposing team is stunned anyway, right? I don't know that she necessarily needs this, but hey, it's there. So I don't know, she looks pretty strong. Let's take a look at her artifact here. Jacko's symbol. This increases effectiveness of all allies by 10%. So it has a built-in 10% effectiveness AoE buff for everyone. If the target has a debuff when the caster attacks with a single attack, increases damage by up to 24%. And this is one of those that I think doesn't really need to be max limit broken. I think we could take advantage of it at just that plus 15. So if you do get lucky with some extra artifacts, I think this one might be good to keep separate, just because of that increased effectiveness to all allies. However, it does mention that this artifact skill effect can only apply to 1 hero within a team. So I'm not too sure if that affects the effectiveness of all allies by 10%. Like if you slap this on 4 warriors, if you're gonna get like a 40% effectiveness increase, I don't know if that's gonna work, but hey, you never know. You never know. It's worth it to try it out. And so this is gonna deal more damage. You get like a raw damage increase at plus 15, which will be, I think, perfectly fine if you run her on this. But you know, I think honestly, like more damage, you're probably gonna get more damage out of like Draco Plate, something like that. If we end up building her like bruiserish, Maybe like, I don't know. Will Bruiser work for her? I'm not too sure, because you really want her to get a kill, right? You want her to get a kill, and then you want her to chain into the S1 and then the S1 extra attack. We did plug in a few numbers just to see what her damage output might look like. So we were able to find another unit, like I mentioned. Sigrid has comparable stats. We threw together this set here. It's a speed pen set. We were able to get 3,400 attack, 222 speed, 50-50 crit, you'll see that there, and about 300 crit damage, just to kind of test things out. And we plugged her numbers into the damage calculator just to see what that baseline would look like. We do have her on Draco plate here, Jacko, 3,400 attack, 300 crit damage. She does give herself increased attack on the S3, so we'll go ahead and set that up here, and we are getting the pen set boost. The artifact level is, let's say, 15 for Draco plate. The target's defense, we'll say we're hitting a bruiser, right? 1,200 defense. That's usually what the mark is right now. I think if we're hitting a squishy with the S3, we're going to get a kill for sure. But let's pretend that we just bring her against some slightly tanky units. If we look at her skills, her S3 here is max molad. So with the S3, we're hitting for 14k. If the target has debuffs, let's take a look here. We're hitting for 18k on a unit with 1,200 defense. So keep that in mind. Of course, she is going to be a very heavy mola intensive unit, but take a look. Even on an S3 with 0 molas, if the target has debuff, she's hitting for 14k, which is still pretty significant, right? Even that Landy, she has the potential to one-shot without mola. So we're probably going to test her out without molas and see if we can get any kills. Of course, this isn't taking into consideration any damage reduction like Aureus or Proof of Valor, things like that. But for the most part, I think she will actually be pretty good. She has pretty good numbers, pretty good damage output based on the calculator here. Her S1 into S1 extra attack, based on these stats, 3,400 attack, 300 crit damage. She's doing almost 7k on the S1. And then when she gets an extra attack, she's doing 10,000 damage. So her S1 plus S1 extra attack is doing almost as much damage as her S3. That's pretty insane. I think that's pretty insane. But that's going to be it. Let me know your thoughts about Jacko. Are you going to be pulling for her? Hopefully you're able to get at least one copy and one copy of Artifact. Us as well. We're definitely going to be pulling. I think she is going to be a unit that you are probably going to plus 15 for sure, just because of the damage. But looking really forward to pulling her on her release. Like always, if you haven't enjoyed the video, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hey, think about subscribing. It really helps the channel grow and reach more people like you who like content like this. Like always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.